And we are back, everybody, with episode 27 of the Jader and Kyle show. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a little while. It's been about a week and a half for us. I mean, it feels like forever since Matt Nose was on the show at this point. But Jader, it's good to see your face again, man.
They missed us, man.
I
People
hope they
needed to
did.
see us again. I know they did. I have a good feeling that they did. It's been a while. I had a crazy week last week. So I want to apologize to our two fans that watched the show that that it was my fault that we didn't record last week. I had some personal issues going on. I'm gonna keep it trucking, keep it moving. We're not gonna talk about that stuff. We're gonna talk about actually one of my favorite films of all time. So I'm excited. What about you, man? What's going on? I know it was a great week in sports. Bad week in football, man. Let's talk about it.
Let's get into your personal issues here for a second. The Miami Heat did lose in the NBA Finals, so I know you were a little upset about that. You were crying.
Not cry. I remember the last show that we did. It's funny enough. It's crazy. It's how fast sports goes. The last time we were on with Matt Nost, and we talked a little bit of NBA. And this was before the day game one was gonna premiere. Remember, we got off quickly because we both wanted to see game one, which was an embarrassment. However, when we were talking about that, I had said Lakers in 5. I wasn't one of as optimistic as a Heat fan as I wanted to be. I'm also very realistic of the team we were facing. Lakers defense is out of hand. You have LeBron James. Again, the bench that the Lakers have is good. You have AD. This is a bunch of factors or whatnot. Excuse me. That I was like Lakers in 5. Honestly, game 5 was one of my favorite games of all fucking time. Fuck you, Steve. But honestly, Lakers, listen to me. Game 5 was one of my favorite games because I honestly thought like that was gonna be it for us, and Buckets gave us a little bit of life. Like he played his fucking ass off. I don't know how you feel. I don't know how you feel about him. If you give credit where credit's due, I feel like if you want to talk about Jimmy Butler, that's the time to do it because game 5 surprised the shit out of me where I was like, holy shit. Game 5 is where I got a little bit of hope, honestly, where I was like, can we do it? I was still like, no, Lakers 6, which is evidently what fucking happened.
Yeah.
But if anybody deserves any type of recognition in that Miami Heat squad, it's a lot of guys. Not in game 6. I feel like we were all equally bad in game 6. Like it was embarrassing. I know a lot of people were saying it was rigged, that we sold, and I don't think that was the case, to be completely honest with you. We were just exhausted, and to be in the finals the way that we did. Again, no one thought Pacers. Yeah, we Pacers were like, you guys are going to take care of them. No one thought we were going to pass the Bucks, especially the Celtics, and then taking the Lakers to game 6. I'm proud of our boys. No ifs, ands, and buts. I'm also happy for the Lakers. I'm not a LeBron hater like everybody else is. There's a lot of Brown haters, but also, for the city of LA, and especially losing Mamba like they did this year. I'm really happy for the city of LA.
Yeah,
I wanted the W as a Heat fan, but I again from the beginning, I was very realistic of what the outcome of the playoffs, of the finals were going to be.
I didn't sleep that night. I stood more for sports during this entire series than I have in my entire life. I mean, it's just one of those feelings where suddenly you're in the third quarter and you're like, man, I haven't sat down this entire time, and I'm not even at the game. So it was really interesting, man. You brought up Jimmy Butler. He had to put on one of the greatest performances we've ever seen in order for his team to get a win. I have so much respect for him because he left it all out on the line.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like seriously, that team, they had the power rankings for next season. The Miami Heat were at 9, underneath the Sixers and the Celtics. It's
crazy.
Like, out of here. I know. It's so stupid. So we're gonna see you guys again. I know it, but congrats to my Lakers, LeBron, AD, Alex Caruso. It was good to see Dwight Howard get his first championship.
Every time that I saw Caruso on the court, I couldn't help but think about Space Jam. He reminded me so much of Elmer Fudd, dude. It was like really, and Steph even made a GIF of Caruso shooting, and Elmer Fudd like with the tongue out and fucking everything, because it was uncanny, to be completely honest with you. What are your thoughts on Danny Green?
I hate him. I hate him so much. I was so pissed off. I've gone in this rant.
I would text you. I was like, Green. You're like, fucking hate this guy.
I hate him so much. Like you're a 3-point shooter. You're wide open at the top of the key, which is the easiest shot for a 3-point shooter to make. Just make the shot. At least make it look close. Hit the back of the rim or something. He couldn't even do that. He sucked. Casey is wide open in the corner.
So check it out. My family they can call themselves Heat fans all they want, but they're bandwagoners. They didn't even know they were in the playoffs until I'm like, dude, we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're like, what? And then they started paying attention to all the games, right? So whatever. For me, it is what it is. Miami's a city full of them, and when the Heat went to the ECFs, they my family, it's an event, people make it an event. It is what it is. So I was happy to spend that time with my family, as much as bandwagoners they are. So every time that Danny Green would get the ball and he would shoot right from the three, my family's like, like, oh my God, he's gonna make it. They don't miss, and I'm like, he's fine. And it would go boom. And my brother was like, my brother does follow basketball, my little brother, and he was like, yeah, Danny Green is so fucking bad, dude. He's so bad. And then when but let me tell you, he had a couple shots in Game 6 where he sunk some threes. I think he did like 2 or 3 of them. Yeah, no, everybody. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Dwight Howard hit a 3. I mean, come on. But guys, it was a good week. I'm happy for my Lakers. I'm glad a team that I follow actually won a championship, especially after watching Dak Prescott break his ankle that same
night. That same fucking night. Yeah, I know.
So it was bad. But guys, so the reason why we were a little off last week is because we had a guest cancel, which is the first time in a while that we've ever had a guest cancel, which is surprising. We're doing pretty good so far. But we're back this week. We got another guest on this week. And he's a friend of mine, a coworker of mine, a recent friend, and he's got some movies that he loves talking about. So without further introduction, here he is, Mr. Brandon Story. Brandon, welcome to the show, man.
Welcome, guys. How you guys doing?
Hey, how you doing, man? Cheers.
I got to grab my Stella Artois.
Oh.
Ooh. Good choice, sir.
I love it. Brandon, great to see you, man. I just saw you about 2 hours ago. Welcome onto the show, man. So tell everyone about yourself. Who are you?
I mean, that's a hard question, man. I mean, I'm Brandon. My girlfriend's computer started ringing.
Well, hey! We're professionals in this place, bro. Come on,
we're gonna decline the FaceTime from her.
You're making me look bad in front of the fan.
I'm new to Florida. I moved out here from Arizona, man. Military brat my whole life. Literally, I started working at Verizon not too long ago with you. I think one of the first days we were there, you were talking about movies, and I was like, I do nothing but watch movies. Like, I have no friends down here in Florida. And then you told me about your podcast, and like, I'm not gonna lie, I secretly wanted you to invite me on. Like, and I just been
like putting the scene in. He's like, hey, dude.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I know this movie. And like, Cal just never invited me. And then finally one day he was like, oh, well, hey, we had a guest cancel. Want to be on my podcast? I'm like, I mean, I guess I can,
Let me check that schedule of mine.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, free. And I'm like, we can fit you in, I guess, this day,
Brandon, you should feel honored. You're the first one from work that's been on the show. So congrats to you. Yeah.
Jader, and the silver lining, bro. And the silver lining.
I am, I'm also really happy because I beat Kyle in fantasy football last week too.
Oh, what the hell? This is not a sports podcast.
You want to know what's funny? I beat somebody that was previously on this podcast this week. I beat Chance.
You beat Chance?
Yeah. I beat him in fantasy football this week, which I'm sure he's not too happy about, even though I'm doing garbage in that fucking league. But I'm 2-3 now, so
Brandon, I guess the biggest question I have for you is, what is it like to have the last name Story?
It's absolutely terrible.
How many jokes do you get?
Okay, so I kid you not, every single grade, 1st through 12th, day one on roll call, they're like, Brandon, story, tell me a story, Brandon, story, every single class, every single time. It's ridiculous. And then my initials are BS too. So when I even some of the teachers be like, Brandon, story, tell me a story, Brandon, story. Then they're like, oh, your initials are BS. I'm like, I get it, guys. I get it. It's terrible.
Enough.
It's terrible.
Oh man. So Jader, as you well know, we all work in the cell phone industry. That's where Brandon and I work. Jader is a T-Mobile guy, so he's a competitor here. Jader, tell us why T-Mobile is better than Verizon. He can't? Moving on. All right.
We're cheaper?
Hey,
I guess.
You are cheaper.
You want to know what's crazy? And I'm probably going to be fired if they ever find this shit. That I tell everybody's like, what if I leave your company? I'm like, if you go to Verizon because they're fucking great. I'm like, they're a great cell phone company. But I have nothing against Verizon. I have buddies, again, like, it sucks to say because my customer service is like A1. Like, I really go above and beyond for the customer, right? One of the things that pisses off my managers are actually that when I'm doing transfers, I make sure that everything is legit 100% when I give you the phone, whatever. My customer's like, I mean, not my customer, my manager's like, go. I'm like, oh, they're fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, but I had a guy one time tell me, he's like, you know what? I'm going to fucking Verizon because, and I'm like, hey, dude, let me get you the phone number of my buddy that works out there, man. Let me know how that shit goes for you. Because something you never want to hear, you know? And then the guy like kind of was like surprised. And I'm like, dude, it's fine, man. You've been here for more than 4 months. You're not going to affect my paycheck.
That's a 4-month chargeback, man.
Yeah, I'm like, you're good to go.
We would, as a manager, they would even sometimes tell us like, hey, give them credits for at least 4 months. After 4 months, if they can't do it, that's fine. Let them go.
Let them go. Yep, that's 4-month rule, man.
Yep.
So I mean, we're giving away way too much right now, but you know what? iPhone 12 tomorrow, guys. Let me know if you guys need any. Pre-orders tomorrow.
Brandon, I don't know if you saw the comment here. Steve, our host, our boss on this, he wants a new podcast.
There you go. Look at that, man.
You know what?
You've been on for like 6 minutes, and you landed a podcast.
This podcasting is easy.
Holy shit!
All you got to do is drink.
Oh, we can listen. I haven't drank like really since the pandemic started. So I'm not gonna lie. This is my 1.5 beers. I'm a little tipsy already.
Hey,
already, man. Look at that. 13 minutes in.
You didn't drink when Jack broke his ankle? Oh wait.
We were actually drinking together. I'm not gonna lie. I cried a little bit too when I got home. I drank a little bit in the shower.
It's a rough day. Okay, so Brandon. Okay, so
you want to know what's rough?
Oh, go ahead.
The Giants losing to the fucking Cowboys after you lost your fucking quarterback. That's rough.
No,
expected this thing, bro. Please stop. Please stop.
We should have destroyed the Giants, and we only won by 3 points.
3 points, which was embarrassing.
Embarrassing. I can play the Dallas Cowboys right now, guaranteed.
All right. So Brandon, we got to talk about this, man.
I think Steve's gonna cancel story time with Brandon for being a Cowboys fan.
You're so right about that. Oh man. Okay. Brandon, we got to talk about this, man. So when I asked you to come on the show, or not even that, when I first met you, you asked me if I saw a certain movie, and my reaction immediately was, "That's a movie," because I had no idea that this was even existed, and that is Green Street Hooligans. So I watched this for the first time to come on this show, and I just have to ask Brandon, why is Green Street Hooligans your favorite movie of all time?
All right. So first of all, I think it's a simpler time. When I first watched it, I think it came out 2005. I had just graduated high school. I just moved out on my own. It was just me and like the boys were at the house every night doing a little bit of this, and we would just watch movies. We were just trying to be like alpha males or whatever. And it was a movie about sports and fighting. And then I got a little sad towards the end. So it was just enough for us to, actually have our first feelings about things. But honestly, man, I mean, it was a great movie for the time. Like, I just felt like it gave me something new, and it had Elijah Wood and like a young Charlie Hunnam. So I mean, Elijah Wood at the time, he had just, I feel like this was right after the whole Lord of the Rings. You know, so
and right before fucking Jackson Teller, dude. So
yeah, and it was right before Sons. Like, so I mean, it was something completely different. Like I'd been watching Elijah Wood in Lord of the Rings, you know, and he to me he was Frodo. You know, he's Frodo. And then to go see him, you know, as I say, move across the pond and go hang out with, you know, Charlie Hunnam, like it was just so cool to me to see him out of his element. Which again, to me, all I had known him from was Lord of the Rings. So I mean, it was something a little bit smaller, you know. You know, Peter Jackson with Lord of the Rings put on like a huge production. They filmed them all back to back, and it was just something different, you know. But I mean, again, it was just a movie about, you know, soccer, fighting, brotherhood, like, and that's kind of like what we were living back when I was 18, graduated from high school. You know, we were brothers, you know. So yeah. I loved it, and I was upset you had never seen it.
Oh, Steve has a message for Brandon.
Oh, that's right. Let me pull it up here real quick. He says that you had a podcast for 3 minutes.
That was quick. I've been
fired.
That's
what happens when you're a Cowboys fan, man.
Yeah, we don't last long as Cowboys fans. Anyways, guys, Green Street Hooligans. So Brandon probably wants to know what I thought of it. Jader, we're gonna get to you first, though, man. What did you think about Green Street Hooligans?
Dude, look, man. I remember liking it. Okay, I saw it in 2009. When I first started bartending, and it was the same thing exactly. To be completely honest with you, it was I was talking to my boss at the time, and we were listening to some music, and I don't know if a song triggered him to talk about it, but I would always talk film. I've always talked movies, and I remember him telling me, he's like, you know what, my favorite movie is Green Street Hooligans. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And imagine, this was 2009 where the movie came out. I think 2005. I think it came out when around 2005. Yeah. So it had been 4 years after. And he's like, you never seen that movie? You gotta watch it. And then I was like, all right. So again, I went to Best Buy. I bought it. I bought the film. I saw it, and I ended up liking it, but it's not very, like, I guess, memorable for me. Like it was a good film. For the time being. And again, it was a soccer film, same thing. I didn't know who Charlie Hunnam was until when I saw Sons. I'm like, hey, it's that guy from Green Street. Yep. Elijah Wood, I had known him from Lord of the Rings, but I've always known Elijah Wood from The Good Son. That's always the movie that I always thought about Elijah Wood with Macaulay Culkin. And funny enough, Green Street released, I think, almost the same year that Sin City did, if I'm not mistaken. So he had done Sin City right after. Yep. Right after Lord of the Rings or whatnot. But when I saw it, I mean, I liked it fine. It was nothing memorable for me. But again, I don't blame him. There's certain films that I hold up here that I know people don't like. They don't hold that you know, or value or whatever. Like for me, it's a special film, but for you, it might not be. That's the beauty about film. It's subjective. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing it. I remember getting back to him. I'm like, oh, it was a dope movie. Again, bought it on DVD, saw it once. So the $20 that DVDs were back then, I spent the $20, never saw the movie again. It's somewhere in a box here somewhere.
Before we did this podcast and we're like, you agreed to actually finally watch Green Street Hooligans for me, I hadn't seen it since probably 2006, 2007. I turned it on, and 5 minutes into it, I'm just quoting every line of the movie. My girlfriend, she's looking at me like, how do you know this? I haven't seen this thing since 2006, 2007. And I'm like, man, I probably have watched this thing. I kid you not, maybe 30 times. It's
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Every time we'd get drunk at the house, man, we would sing like their little, you know, West End.
Yeah. The chant.
And I'd be like, and I would do what I kind of did to Kyle. Like, you ever see this movie? And I would make drunk people at my house watch Green Street Hooligans. Like every single time we did anything. I was obsessed, man. I was obsessed.
There's a couple of movies I've done that with. The Crow is one of them, actually, where I would talk about The Crow and people are like, or I would wear a Crow shirt with Brandon Lee's face, and they're like, what is that? I'm like, you know, and I'm like trying to show people The Crow. And like, again, for me, it was a film that I saw in theater, knew that the guy had passed away filming this film, right? And I saw that movie and I thought it was the fucking coolest thing I'd ever seen. I know The Crow, I feel like it holds up, but it doesn't hold up for everybody. It all depends on your taste, you know? But I've showed friends that I've showed The Crow for the first time where they're like, bro, this movie's fucking awesome. And I've showed this, people were like, this is a piece of shit. Sorry, dude. Sucks. And I'm like, fuck.
It's
so
not
I get
I don't understand people don't like it.
Huh?
For The Crow, I don't understand why people don't like that movie. I mean, I guess if you're just one of those anti-gothic people and you just hate dark and dreary things.
I fucking love that movie, dude.
I have never seen The Crow.
Oh my God.
Like,
had you been at my house, sir, we would have shut this podcast down and we would have seen The Crow, then reviewed it right after.
Let's do it. I'm down to come back.
Fuck yeah. Yes, let's do a Crow. Really, you guys heard it here first. We're doing a fucking Crow review. I cannot wait.
On the first episode of Story Time with Brandon, we go over not The Crow, but Brandon's experience watching The Crow.
Yeah. So good, bro.
So Green Street Hooligans. So here's what I thought about it. I think I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Jader. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. It kind of reminded me of a way more serious Kingsman for like a Kingsman from an older generation. You got all these English guys hanging out in pubs, yelling at each other. My thing is, why are they always looking to fight? Like, they're just walking the streets looking for a fight. Everybody's looking to punch somebody. Everyone's just super angry. I think I only saw 2 women the entire film. So that's where my mind is going the entire time. Why do these guys just want to hurt everybody? Why are they so angry all the time? I mean, Brandon, can you answer that question?
Absolutely not.
I can.
The only thing I can think is, like, I mean, have you ever been to a live football game? Like going to the actual stadium and you just get around like all the camaraderie and just think with like people you may not know, but it's just fans of the team that you like. And I mean, if you get a little sauced up, I feel like there's been times I've been at a Dallas game and somebody will say something and I'm like, let's go. You know,
yeah.
Like, I'm not an angry person, but I'm like, let's go, you know? But I mean, I feel like over there with how big soccer is to, football is to, you know, that kind of culture over there. I mean, I can get it, to be 100% honest. I do get it just a little bit. And I think there's actually a line in the movie, just they're talking about, you know, the clubs, like they have shit football, but they have a fantastic firm. And I think it's just kind of built into the culture over there, you know. But again, I've never been, so I don't know. But
after watching it, I felt like I couldn't go to England because what Jader and I do is we are kind of journalists in a way, and they fucking hate journalists. Like it's a bigger crime than murdering somebody is being a journalist in England. So, but no, I enjoyed the film. I have this thing where I get mixed up. Elijah Wood, Tobey Maguire, and Michael Cera. I think they're all the same person in different aspects, right? I mean, don't they all kind of look the same and have the same demeanor?
Tobey Maguire.
All white guys look the same.
Tobey Maguire and Elijah Wood, maybe, but Michael Cera?
You don't get a Michael Cera vibe off of Elijah Wood?
No.
Tobey Maguire and Jake Gyllenhaal and Elijah Wood.
I don't get Jake Gyllenhaal from them.
They actually,
I think Jake Gyllenhaal and Tobey Maguire look the same. That's why they did that movie Brothers, which sucked dick. But they did that fucking movie.
They were actually Jake Gyllenhaal for the
lead. They
They
look related, dude.
Yeah, so like they actually wanted Jake Gyllenhaal for the lead in Green Street originally.
And, you know, it's funny too because Michael Cera played Tobey Maguire in Molly's Game. So that's, I mean, they do kind of all feel with each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Green Street Hooligans, Brandon, any final thoughts you want to throw in about this film?
If you guys haven't seen it, just give it a chance. Like, again, I was really afraid it wasn't going to hold up, you know, being 15 years later. Just give it a chance. Like, again, it was like the first movie that literally made me feel something for the characters, just because we, you know, saw the brotherhood going throughout, you know, the entire movie. And then, you know, I do kind of I don't want to spoil things, but the movie's been 15 years old. So, I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, you really need to go see it. But I mean, just the ending, I feel like it was a perfect ending to a film. And that's, I mean, I've watched so many movies, but I feel like this one literally ended perfectly for me. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's phenomenal. If you're a fan of Sons of Anarchy, You will absolutely love Charlie Hunnam in this movie. If you're a fan of, Pacific Rim, you're trash. But
that's not shit on Pacific Rim. That's a good movie. Part one.
We can shit on King Arthur though. Like that movie sucks.
King Arthur was also terrible. So I mean, if you're a fan of things that Charlie Hunnam did that were a good decision, Green Street Hooligans, go watch it.
I also loved in the movie that flying drop kick that whatever his name is does at the end of that fight. I mean, Charlie Hunnam's just like, if you want to redeem yourself, go save him. And the guy's like, fuck yeah, and runs over with the kick that he's been waiting to do his entire life, and it works.
That kick also looks like it would not have knocked out a child. Like,
oh my gosh,
it was a terrible kick.
So that is Green Street Hooligans, everyone. Before we get into our main discussion today, you're seeing it on the bottom, what's scrolling by. Jader and I have made the transition to Pop Culture Pros. It's a new website that we are part of. It's no longer CST. We are now Pop Culture Pros. You can find the Twitter, Instagram, Facebook link all below. Join the fan page. Be a part of the discussion. All of our podcasts are going to be over there, including the Jader and Kyle show, Steve's Mets and Giants show. We're going to have a lot of new shows over there too. So please be on the lookout. Go join. Support us. We're going to be over there, guys. But we're always going to be here for you too. So be on the lookout for that. Let's get into our main discussion here. So Brandon, after I asked you what movie you wanted to pick, and I said,
what other movie do you like that's not Green Street Hooligans?
So it was hard because, like, again, I try to get Kyle to watch Green Street Hooligans literally from day one I met him, and he talked about his podcast. I was like, "Oh, have you seen Green Street?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll watch it," and just never did.
Never came around.
That's usually the answer that I give too. I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it.
So I told Kyle the other day at work. One of my other favorite movies of all time is Se7en. I liked it so much that I decided to get me and 7 friends. We're gonna get the 7 deadly sins tattooed on us. I went first. The lady messed up my tattoo, and none of my friends got it. So I have a tattoo of the word envy on my arm that is just god awful. But I mean, it's bad. The first tattoo I got done, she put the Y on backwards, like in the Y on backwards, and then she showed it to me, and she's like, "No, it looks good like that." And I'm like, "No, it doesn't." Then I got it covered up, looks even worse. But to get something tattooed on you, feel like you gotta like it a lot. Se7en was kind of one of those other movies that just Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, 2 of my favorite actors, and then just the way the movie like rolled out, it was perfect to me as well. So I think this is probably one of my top 10 and maybe even top 5 favorite movies of all time. But yeah, let's dive into this one.
I mean, we've done Social Network on this show before. David Fincher is, man, I think he's my favorite filmmaker working today. One of my favorites of all time. I know Jader is a big Nolan fan, and we've had our back and forths when it comes to Nolan.
No. Don't get it twisted. I like Fincher more than I like Nolan. I love Nolan. But okay. I like Fincher more than I like Nolan. Absolutely, 100%.
I think Fincher is, like, in a way, he's kind of underrated because when you talk about the best working today, his name's not really brought up. And we go over films.
Film buffs, not by film buffs. Film buffs will almost always bring up David Fincher. I feel. But if you talk to a casual moviegoer, they'll go for a little bit of bigger. Nolan is one that they'll definitely throw out.
Tarantino,
Nolan, Spielberg, Scorsese's, yeah, exactly. Which all great in my opinion. They're all great. But Fincher is one, along with Villeneuve, that are underrated.
It's completely underrated. Yeah. And I think what my favorite thing about Fincher is he hates all his characters. Every single one. He's so cynical about every single character in all of his films. But if you go over his filmography, each one, and besides maybe like 2 or 3, are bona fide classics to this point. So we start with Alien 3, whatever. Go into 7. 7 is just like, we're going to talk about it later, but we know that's a classic now too. You got The Game and Fight Club and Panic Room, and then we move into this mid-2000s work. You got Zodiac and Social Network, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, What was the other one I'm missing? Gone Girl. That's another one that's in there. It's just over and over and over again. This guy.
How did you not mention Benjamin Button, bro?
It was in my mind. Benjamin Button, another one. I knew I was missing a big one too.
I didn't even realize David Fincher directed all those movies until I talked to Kyle the other day. He was like, "Are you David?" I'm like, and then he started naming the movies. I'm like, "Oh, I feel like I must be. Yeah, I am." Like, Gone Girl made me never wanted to date a woman in my ever again.
That's a horror movie, right?
That is a fucking horror. That movie should be called "Fucking Bitches Be Going Crazy," bro. Like, that needs to stop. The fuck.
I looked at my girlfriend at the time and I was like, "Listen, if you ever feel like if you're ever mad at me, please just tell me. Like, you don't need to do all this." Like,
I felt for Affleck at the end where he's just trying to sleep in his bed, and that dread of what is she gonna do while I'm sleeping at night? Is she gonna come in this room? It freaked me out, man. Because like you said, it makes you not want to date anybody anymore.
Oh no, I guarantee. Probably.
I know we're. I know we're not reviewing Gone Girl yet. We will. Promise you guys that we will get to every single Fincher film thus far, but I don't feel bad for Affleck in that movie to this day because they both kind of deserved each other. They were both fucking assholes.
Yeah.
At the end of everything, they were both assholes.
I feel bad for Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes, that is who I feel bad for. Absolutely,
he was trying to get it in so bad, and he just
yeah, but he was kind of creepy too. I mean, the only person I really liked in that film was Tyler Perry. That name Tanner Bolt is also awesome, just on its surface right there. Hey, who's your lawyer? Tanner Bolt. Oh, jeez.
I've never liked Tyler Perry.
That motherfucker's gonna win automatically.
But Se7en, let's get into Se7en, guys. So, Brandon, you chose this film. You said it's one of your favorites that you've ever watched. Top 10. Why? Why is this film a top 10 for you?
I feel like it's because, again, kind of like Green Street, I didn't see the ending. It was one of the I feel like nowadays movies are very clean cut. They follow a certain format. You know exactly what's going to happen. If you've never seen a movie, if it's not based on the book, you can see kind of like how it's going to play out. Brad Pitt being Wrath at the end blew my mind. The line "What's in a box" is absolutely probably one of the best movie lines I have ever heard in my entire life. People that have never seen the movie will still know what "What's in the box" comes from. But I mean, it just slowly unfolded, and it just kept getting deeper and darker as the story went on. I mean, and again, like one of the times that I can actually say I feel like it was a perfect film. The one that I can never tell what was happening throughout the entire thing. Like I was telling you, I was just watching it recently, and I mean, I've seen the movie, and the part where Sloth actually wakes up, he's not dead, still scared the crap out of me. Like I forgot it happened. I didn't see it coming. Just scared the crap out of me. Like it was absolutely wonderful. But no, just, I mean, the symbolism throughout the entire movie, 7 Deadly Sins, 7 Holy Virtues. I absolutely loved all of that growing up. My family was really religious, so I heard about the 7 Deadly Sins like my whole life. But I mean, just to see them act out in a movie format was phenomenal for me, just phenomenal. And the way they did, John Doe's character just stole the show. I can't say enough about how much I absolutely just loved watching this. And again, it's one of those movies that I can watch over and over again, and I'll notice something different every single time. Like I just realized it's raining the entire movie. It was so dark, and it's raining the entire movie except for the very last scene.
That's actually one of the details I have coming up in one of our later categories here. It's hard to talk about this film without stepping on any of the categories here because there's gonna be a lot to talk about as we go on. Jader, when you think of Se7en, what comes to your mind?
Honestly, I strongly feel it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Oh, wow.
I absolutely adore this film. I've said this multiple times. I teeter-totter between this and Fight Club, between my favorite Fincher films. This kind of goes in hand, like I said, with this honestly is like Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds and Pulp Fiction, where depending on the day that you ask me, I'll tell you what my favorite Fincher is. So if I had seen Se7en the night before and you asked me, I'm like, oh, Se7en. But if I saw Fight Club, I'm like, it's probably Fight Club. They're both like there for me. They're hand in hand. It's crazy how you mentioned, Brandon, the ending of Seven, because that is probably one of the best endings in cinema for me. Because you do not see that shit coming. I don't care who you are, you don't see that shit coming. I actually showed that movie for the first time to my girlfriend this year during quarantine because she had never seen it. And we were talking about, she's like, oh, so catch me up on some of your favorite films. And I'm like, all right, what are you in the mood for? She goes, oh, show me something creepy. I'm like, I can show you something disturbing. I don't know if creepy, because it's not a creepy film. It's just fucked up.
Yeah,
and she goes, what is it? Yeah. So she's like, what is it? I'm like, oh, it's Seven. And she goes, oh, I've never seen it. I'm like, you don't know the ending. And then, because, like a lot of people haven't seen movies, but they'll know the ending if it's something major, right? Like,
Empire
spoiler alert, Empire, Sixth Sense, like people are like, hey, I know what's up, So yeah, so she's like, no, I've never seen Seven. And I'm like, you don't know the ending? She's like, no. I'm like, sit down. Dude, I showed her that fucking movie. She goes, like the ending, she goes, no way. And I'm like, oh, yes. Yeah. And it's crazy because obviously we're going to have to address the elephant in the room, which is Kevin Spacey. We don't mention him too much because of all the shit that's been going down, even though it sucks because he's such an incredible actor. But he went in 95. He did Usual Suspects, which if you guys seen the movie, you know what type of ending that is, where you're like, holy shit. It's just a mind-blowing ending. He had Outbreak and Seven all come out back to back to back. So imagine.
Was it LA Confidential in there too?
LA Confidential came out in 1997.
Okay.
But 95 was, I don't know in what order they came out with, but I know it's Usual Suspects, Outbreak, and Seven. And I know right after that, he did A Time to Kill.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then right after A Time to Kill, I think he did LA Confidential. So those are like back to back to back to back.
And then you got American Beauty in there too.
American Beauty was in 1999. I know he did Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, The Negotiator, Bug's Life. Like, he was hitting.
Kevin Spacey.
It's fucking Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
But again, not going based off Kevin Spacey, going back to the fucking movie. Same thing. It's I don't remember the first time that I saw Seven. I know I didn't see it in the theater. I know I saw it at home. I know I was in high school when I saw it, but I remember just being sucked into that world where I knew I was watching a movie, but it kind of felt like a documentary of how interested I got. You're just sucked into this dark world, which they never mention what city they're in.
They
ever.
Don't, but there is a New York pizza restaurant.
New York, yes. It's like a New York vibe.
Out of California. Which I was sitting there watching when I was watching the movie, I was trying to figure out where they were. So I'm like,
they never say it. They never say it ever.
I thought I was like, is this Gotham? Like, it's place is full of crime.
Yeah, no, exactly. It feels like Gotham. Like, again, like one of these just dark, always rainy, like Seattle-esque. Yeah. But obviously not Seattle because you have all your, super tall buildings and all that shit. So, I mean, we're kind of like jumping everywhere here. But like for those of you who have not seen this movie from 1995, it follows a serial killer that basically goes on pattern and kills everybody by the 7 deadly sins. Point, period, blank. Then you have 2 detectives working for the first time on this big ass case. One's going to be a retiree, and one is someone that asked to be put on this project, on this case, because he wants to move up in ranks, if you will, which is Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. Mm-hmm. I remember just how impactful. Again, I'm saying that you're watching this movie. And the very first time, at least for me, when I saw this movie, you were immediately sucked in. You want to know what's crazy? That this movie, if I recall, didn't get like praised by any critics. Has good reviews, but a lot of people said that the ending was terrible. I remember reading critics saying that the ending was terrible, which fucking mind got boggling for me. Yeah. But I feel like this movie is. They were saying that how do I say this? Like
too dark?
Dark, yeah, but they were saying that it depends on gore, basically, to tell the story, which I feel like this movie doesn't show a lot, to be complete. It has its scenes, obviously, but I think that what made this movie like fucked up / scary / disturbing was they kind of shy away from showing you. They kind of let your imagination go wild, which we're gonna get into. I hope we get into every single death, but once we get into Lust for me was like one of the most impactful ones for me.
Because you can picture it in your mind.
It's so fucked up, which we'll get there. But movie opens with gluttony, right? Which, like, obviously gluttony, everybody knows what it is, refers to excess eating or whatever. And you just see this guy tied to a fucking chair, this obese person, dead for how many days? I don't even remember. It was like 2 days or something like that. Like, completely pale, obese person with his fucking face in food, and they say that he was feeding him until he couldn't eat no more, but he was also feeding him like shards. Like, can you picture that? Like, getting fed till you can't eat no more and getting fed shards? Like, what the hell, bro?
Justin,
again,
his stomach hurt from just eating too much. And they said the crazy thing too, like the killer, like there was 2 receipts in the grocery bag, so he was feeding him. He had to stop and leave and get more food. Eating this guy.
Messed up, bro. So messed up, man. So messed up. But what about you, Cal? What's going on? Tell me the first time you ever saw this.
The first time, I mean, it's kind of similar to you, man, where it's just it wasn't my first Fincher film. I went through the whole Fincher binge because Social Network is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I was like, I gotta watch all this guy's work, and I went back and watched Zodiac and Benjamin Button and Dragon Tattoo, and then finally got the Se7en again. And it's just it's super disturbing. I know people love it a lot, but it's rewatchable, but you don't want to go back and rewatch it because it's an experience every time you see it, and not a good experience in a way. You feel uncomfortable, you feel dirty, even though you know where it's going. You wonder to yourself, am I committing these 7 deadly sins? What if that was me in that spot? You put yourself in the shoes of all the victims, and it makes you super uncomfortable. So it's not an easy watch, but it's a powerful watch. And like I was saying with Fincher, it's Social Network and Zodiac that are my top 2. This might be there at number 3, or it's that Gap commercial that he made. That Gap commercial is incredible. If you guys have ever seen his Gap commercial, it's incredible. With the guy with the golfing. He's also the guy who did every major
music video.
Yeah, Madonna, George Michael.
Dude, he did that song. My friends always play the song when we're shooting pool for some fucking reason. God damn it, bro. What is it? You don't have to take her clothes off and have a good time.
Well, it's funny though. Like, this guy who's one of the best directors ever is still making these commercials and music videos on the side. He's just constantly working. He makes them all so unique. If you haven't seen the Gap commercial, go on YouTube. It's 30 seconds, and you'll be like, why do I love this thing so much? One quick thing before we get into the categories is I want to point out the Oscars here. 1995, famously Braveheart won the Oscar that year. But you got to listen to these nominees. So Braveheart wins, goes up against Apollo 13, The Postman, Sense and Sensibility, and Babe.
What?
Yeah, Babe, the pig movie.
No, Babe isn't my fucking problem.
It's The Postman?
Babe's not that bad. No, The Postman was boring. Sense and Sensibility, man. Get the fuck out of here.
Those are your 5 1995 films over films like you said, The Usual Suspects and Se7en. The Academy clearly got it wrong this year, even though Braveheart's a great movie. I know I'm not going to be
that was I think it's a well-deserving Academy Award film. I fucking love Braveheart. Braveheart is amazing to me. So I don't have an issue with Braveheart winning. I have an issue with Se7en not getting recognition.
Yeah.
I know that The Usual Suspects got a little recognition that year because Spacey won for best supporting. Best. Was it supporting? Yeah, it was supporting. Right? Yeah.
Over Brad Pitt, not for Se7en, but for 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys, which you don't like.
Not about 12 Monkeys. You don't like 12 Monkeys?
I don't like.
He's not a fan. He's not a fan. Which I think fucking Brad Pitt was fantastic in that movie.
Great movie. It's not against Brad Pitt. I just think that movie is super cheesy. I'm not into that. But this movie I'm in, he's kind of in a way. It's a weird Brad Pitt because he's crazy in 12 Monkeys, but in this movie he brings a little bit of that character into this character, into Mills. He's got that like chewy voice almost in a way where he's not, you can't really hear what he's saying, but he's also pronouncing everything way too much. He puts a little bit in that character here. I love Brad Pitt. I think he's one of our best actors working today. He's still putting out strong performances. Let's go, guys, into these categories. I feel like we're going to be here a while if we don't start now. Best scene. Best scene is where we're starting. Brandon, you're the guest. What is the best scene in Seven?
Okay, so I'm probably gonna be the minority on this one, but I personally think the best scene is the first one because it sets the first one for the first murder. It sets the tone for the entire movie. So, nice. I mean, going into it, it's a movie about the 7 deadly sins, but you don't know how in depth into the 7 deadly sins is going to go. And just that first scene, seeing the guy again, the obese guy, just barbed wired his legs and his hands face down in a thing of pasta, like just the decrepitness of the house that he's in, roaches everywhere. I think that 100% set the tone of the movie. And when I first watched it, I still remember the first time I watched it and going like, oh, this is real. Like, this isn't going to be some, I know it's a David Fincher film. It's not going to be some like fluff movie where it's like, oh, 7 deadly sins. This guy died because he was overweight, ate too much. It's legit real. So that's probably my favorite scene for me right there. Just because now I know exactly what to expect throughout the movie. And as much as it goes into the other kills, it does get, again, like Lust, it gets more severe. That just kind of set the whole tone of the movie for me. It's hard to rank these two out of the kills too, because I feel like the scenes go by almost kind of by the kills. But that gluttony kill, man, it was horrifically amazing for me.
Yeah, it sticks with you. Mine, I'm gonna go with the chase scene where we first see not Kevin Spacey, but we see, I guess, the silhouette when they're chasing him in the hotel through his apartment complex, whatever it is. That scene's intense, man, because you see this figure down the hall, and Morgan Freeman kind of notices him, and then he just pulls out a gun, starts shooting, and everything races into place. And them jumping through windows and going through buildings. The other neighbors throwing bricks at John Doe as he's in the balconies. That's great. And then the way it ends, where Brad Pitt doesn't even see him, gets whacked by him in the back, and then he just puts a gun up to his head. It's almost like, I'm not ready to kill you yet. I'm not ready to finish you off yet, and then walks away. It's so good. It's so intense. The kids pointing. Like, this man just ran through my apartment and now he goes outside the window and into the bathroom outside the window. Imagine what those kids are going through, seeing this stranger go into their bathroom, jump out the window. That's got to be disturbing too. So I think that's the moment to go back to the most. Jader, what's your pick for this?
The ending.
I'm glad you said it.
The ending. It had to, especially if you guys mentioned two awesome scenes the way you did. The ending, man. The ending, and it's gonna hit you every single time you watch that movie. And every single time you watch that movie, you're gonna want a different ending that you obviously are not gonna get. But you always want the happy ending. And that's, it's kind of fucked up because I went on a binge showing, again, my girlfriend, showing her just like depressive ending films where like the bad guy wins or, the main character dies. And she was like, the first thing she asked me about Seven was kind of that. We saw, funny enough, Seven and Uncut Gems the same day. So she was like, what the fuck are you doing to me? She's such, you've met Steph a million times, Kyle. So she's such a bubbly and upbeat person that she doesn't like sad endings or anything like that. She knows that the films are good, but overall, like, Seven was one of the few where she was like, that was a good film despite the ending. But she'll be like, this movie sucks because, Uncut Gems is one of those where she's like, yeah, it was a good movie, but she's told me, I would never see it again because it gave her so much anxiety. Yeah. Seven was one of the few where, again, she liked it, but you always want that better. And at me, I hadn't seen Seven in probably about 2 years more or less. And as I was watching it, I was kind of like a little kid, like looking at her, like can't wait, you know. But even me, I was like, fuck, it's such a fucked up ending, man. And it just goes where it is one of those films that the bad guy wins at the end, you know, and it all comes full circle. And again, I think that's spoiler enough. If you guys are, you know, the audience hasn't seen the movie yet, I highly encourage you to go see this movie like tonight. And it's the perfect season for it because it's Halloween. Not that it's a horror, but makes you feel some type of way. You know, it makes you feel some type of way, but it's the perfect time to see this film if you haven't already. But it's just one of those where the ending, you don't know what's happening. You know, you're watching the movie and you're like, what's going on? And then you see, you know, John Doe is just very like patient and he has this smug face, and you're like, you just have this whole uneasiness to you. You get queasy watching that, and especially at the end and again, they never reveal what's in the box. You know, they never reveal it. But as soon as you see it, and you see Morgan Freeman's face, you see Brad Pitt just, you know, like, you know, break down the way that he does what he does at the end, and you're just like, you know, and as soon as you see this guy like go like this to him, you're like, no, like that's what he wants. And you know, it just
what's brutal about that too is the second time you watch it, when John Doe shows up at the police station and he's covered in blood.
You know exactly. You know what he just did.
Yes.
I honestly did not put that together until right now.
It's really creepy.
I did not put that together till right now. Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's what it is. When he shows up, when he gives himself up because he wants, again, like he wasn't part of the plan. And he says it in the film. Like Mills was not part of the plan whatsoever. He had his agenda, but he was envious of what he had, that he put himself in the plan, which is so fucked up. but that's what it, bro. Goddamn, I love this movie. It's so fucked up for me to say that over and over again. But I love this movie, man. But yeah, that's for me. That's the best scene.
Jader, I'm gonna throw it right back to you then. Best line.
What's in the box? Come on.
Is it that easy? Is it that easy?
It is that easy. I'm sorry. And if it's unanimous, it is. It probably isn't, because I know you don't like going with the obvious, but with this movie, you have to go with the obvious. It is the best line in the movie. Not that it sets the tone, because the tone had been set. That's not a line that you don't hear until the very, very end of the film. But we were all wondering, what's in the box? What's in there? And once you find out, again, you get queasy. Your stomach turns. Right. Especially knowing what you know and spending time with said character, and it's so fucked up, man. It's so as a dad, it hits even harder every time that I see that scene. That I'm like, you son of a bitch, bro.
But Brandon, this is your pick too.
I mean, it has to be. Okay. I mean, again, like I said it earlier, but like there's people I know that even haven't seen the movie, but they still, like, if someone's like, oh, there's a box, I'm like, what's in the box? They're like, Se7en. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's a great movie. They've never seen it. You know, so I mean,
motherfucker.
It's one of those where, like, again, people don't need to see the movie to know that line and just know how impactful it is. I mean, so yes, absolutely. It's not just my favorite line in this movie. It's one of my favorite quotable lines from a movie.
Yeah. Funny enough, a little fun fact that Kyle doesn't even know. I had a podcast for the same net. Well, our old network for Cine Sports Talk called The Nobodies. We were gonna call ourselves "What's in the Box."
See,
that was gonna be the name of our podcast. But everybody was like, there was a couple of differences. They're like, no, I don't think so. And then the Nobodies came to life right after that. So we ran with the Nobodies. I actually own a shirt that says "What's in the Box," and it's the box with blood spewing out of the bottom. So yeah, love that line.
I went with a line that kind of stuck with me watching it just last night, which was from Morgan Freeman talking to Brad Pitt, where he says, if we catch John Doe and he turns out to be the devil, I mean, if he's Satan himself, that might live up to our expectations, but he's not the devil. He's just a man. And it's kind of just about how they built up this reputation for this killer throughout the entire film. and they don't think he's going to live up to that reputation, but then he does. And it's unsettling when you see what happens at the end, how his plan works, everything he ever wanted comes together, and he really, in a way, is the devil himself. So that line was like super powerful watching it. It really works. Casting what ifs. I found a couple in my research here. Denzel Washington turned down the role of Mills because he felt the film to be too dark and depressing, and it's one of his biggest.
But he fucking did Fallen, right after. Come on, bro, get out of here.
It's one of his biggest regrets. Val Kilmer turned down John Doe. That was another one that was out there for a while. That's fine. I don't want Val Kilmer in this movie. Kevin Spacey is perfect.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't want Val Kilmer in a lot of movies.
I mean, you have to understand, this is 1995 Val Kilmer, so this is like Batman Forever.
I didn't watch Val Kilmer in Batman Forever either.
He wasn't a bad Batman. That's a whole other podcast. but yeah, this is not bad Val Kilmer. You had, again, The Saint came around 1990. You had Heat with Val Kilmer, and you had Batman Forever. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad, but again, I wouldn't want him over Brad Pitt. I wouldn't take him over Brad Pitt.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I got a bad one for you. Sylvester Stallone turned down the role of Brian Mills.
Stallone did, yep.
Could you imagine Stallone? It's Stallone and Morgan Freeman. That's a completely different movie. I got two more. Kevin Costner and Nicolas Cage also were considered for the role of Brian Mills. Again, different movie if it's Nicolas Cage. I can see Kevin Costner, but Brad Pitt's just kind of perfect in this role too, so I don't want anyone else in there.
So Stallone turned it down and did Judge Dredd?
I think he did.
Same year.
Yeah, he might have.
Jesus Christ.
He would have ruined Seven. Like that would have been a bad idea.
Yeah. No, I'm one of those. Thank God, what ifs.
Yeah.
And finally, Guillermo del Toro turned down directing this film at one point. So I could see del Toro actually doing this movie, but no, it's hard to top Fincher. And I feel like we got the best possible version we could have of this film.
I really do too.
Because of
I think
in every aspect of the way, where acting, casting, directing, everything, there wouldn't have been a better film had it been other what ifs or whatever.
Even the scoring of this movie, when I was rewatching it, I was like, man, all this music, the tone, it sets the tone of everything throughout. I mean, I think it was the beginning. As soon as the movie starts, it was that the remastered
Nine Inch Nails Closer. Hell yeah!
I was like, man, like this is good. Like, I mean,
it's creepy. Like the way you see everything like unraveling and things like that. I was like, what the fuck is this? It's an eerie tone.
Yeah, like that's again like what I said. Like Seven, I feel like it's honestly a perfect movie. Like, I mean, they got everything down right.
It's funny that he mentions the music too, because when I was doing my Fincher rewatch, you see the girl with the dragon tattoo, and it opens with Nine Inch Nails version of the Immigrant Song, and it just kind of throws you for a loop of what am I about to watch here?
Did Trent Reznor compose these or no?
Yeah, no, he didn't do this one. He didn't start composing until.
No, I know not Seven. I know he didn't do Seven, but did he do Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
Yeah, he did Dragon Tattoo, and then I believe he did Gone Girl as well. I believe he's done all his movies since Social Network. Let's move on. The Mahershala Ali Award for Best Sharpshooter. The character who does the most in least amount of time. I kind of just spoiled my answer in a way. It's Kevin Spacey.
Of course it is, man. Hands down. If this answer isn't unanimous, get the fuck out. Like it has to be Kevin Spacey.
He doesn't show up for what, 3/4 of the film?
Yeah, he's just not existent, guys. Chill. God, my dogs are just talking right now. They like the movie too. Yeah, I mean, he's again, like you said, he's only there for 1/4 of the film, but I mean, he does so much without saying anything.
Yeah.
Yes, the creepy look on his face, the stoic. I mean, and you just see the entire movie they're building up this, this patient, meticulous serial killer. And from the second he's on the screen, you just see him and you're like, yes, 100%. Like, pick him out of a crowd, yeah, he's a murderer.
Yeah, it's crazy when you first see him. Well, you first hear his voice over the phone. He's like, I'm really impressed with you, Agent Mills. And he's only on the phone for like 20-something seconds. It's that smart thing that those serial killers do where they can't track down where you are. You can't pinpoint where you are. But if they're not on for a certain amount of time. I always love that in these films because they're like, I'm gonna cut it off right at the 29-second mark so we can't find where they are. But you hear his voice, and then he comes in at the police station. You're like, fuck, this guy's creepy. And he's just sitting in the interrogation room, not even listening to his lawyer. You see him looking through the window at the two-way glass because he knows Mills is right out there. His wife's head's on its way. It's just, it's so creepy and weird. I don't even have to go to you guys. It's all Kevin Spacey, right?
Absolutely Kevin Spacey.
Hands down, dude. There literally cannot be for this film. It has to be unanimous.
Okay,
it has to be.
The Bill Murray Award for best cameo. Brandon, I'm gonna throw it to you in this one, man. Who was your pick for this?
I was actually going back and forth with this one because there was a couple people that I'm not gonna lie. After I watched, I went through IMDb to see if I was right about some people. So there was a couple people in there that I had seen that I was like, man, that was a good cameo. But I feel like my favorite cameo is Morgan Freeman's son. I'm not sure if you guys caught that. He was the fingerprint guy.
Yes.
And as soon as I saw him, I was like, man, why does that guy look familiar? And I remember watching Shawshank Redemption when they were trying to do a young Morgan Freeman, they used a picture of his son. And I was like, oh crap, that's his son. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like that, I honestly do like, I know it's cheesy when famous actors put their kids in movies. So I like that. It was a quick, he was there for one scene and out. He's not, really well known or anything like that. So that was probably my favorite cameo. There was a couple more in there that honestly, there was, I can't remember his name, but he was in Sons of Anarchy too. He was in that. I can't remember who it was, but it kind of tied it back to the whole Green Street Hooligans thing with Charlie Hunnam. But yeah, I definitely want to go with Denzel Washington's kid. Denzel Washington kid, Morgan Freeman's kid. You don't see him around much.
You're talking about Bobby.
Bobby, yeah.
Mark Boone Jr.
There it is. Yep. That was so it was between those two. This was before he got big again with Sons. Yeah. But that's probably
he's worked with Fincher and Nolan because he was in Batman Begins.
Too. Yeah, that's right. He was the cop in the
album.
Yeah.
Jader, who's your pick, man?
I actually, you know what? It's not that it was very best cameo or anything like that, but I picked R. Lee Ermey because I always like seeing him in films.
Yes.
He was my pick. Every single film that he's in, whether it's small, big, whatever, he kind of sets his tone. And in this movie, he wasn't the drill sergeant he usually is. He was he was a little bit more easygoing, so it was nice to see him in that. So that was kind of my pick for this one.
More tame in this movie.
Yeah, he's very tame, and he was great. Again, he got in there. There's this guy that I don't know his name.
Don't take him. Don't take him. I think I know who you're talking about. Is he a police officer?
No, he was the librarian in the movie.
Go ahead. I have no idea who you're talking about.
But I've only seen him in 2 films as far as I remember. He's in Speed and he's in this. And in Speed, he's the bus driver that gets shot. Yeah. And Sandra Bullock has to take over the bus because some guy shot him. I know. And he was the librarian in this movie. And every time I see him, I'm like, hey, man. You're in Speed.
He's one of the ultimate that guys. Hey, it's that guy. We don't know his name. I went with I had R. Lee Ermey too, but since you took him, I'm going with John C. McGinley.
I'm glad you said it. I was also thinking that one too.
He's just a funny guy. He's also that guy too. And then as soon as I see him, I think of him as the police chief in Point Break. Just super angry all the time. So it's so funny, man. So John C. McGinley, see him as the cop pop up real quick. You're like, shit, who is that guy? I've seen him before. I know that face. And then that's the police chief in Point Break. So
a little quick shout out to Leland Orser, which you guys are like, who the fuck is that? That's the guy that was in The Lust when they found him. And that he's the one that had to wear the strap on in Lust. But he was in he always has little minor roles. Like he was funny enough in Alien Resurrection. He was in The Bone Collector, Saving Private Ryan. So he was in a couple films where I'm like, he's hey, it's that guy.
Yeah.
But again, we didn't really talk about every single death in this film. Lust for me is
Lust takes the cake.
It's one of the most impactful ones. Like and it's funny because you mentioned Sloth. You know, when you mentioned Sloth, and I get it because it was impacting for me younger watching the movie, where you're like, what the fuck? It was the what the fuck moment of the film, in my opinion. But as an adult, like, because even as a kid, you don't really understand what the fuck the strap on is. You're like, all right, what is that? You know, but as an adult, that's the real what the fuck moment for me, where you're like, you literally made this guy use a strap on, and the strap on, instead of being a fucking dildo, it's a knife, and you made this guy fuck a chick with a fucking knife. Like, picture that. You don't see any of that on film. Yeah. And you're like, what the hell did this happen? While having a gun to his head. That's like disturbing beyond belief, man. Like, what do you do in a situation like that? You know?
That's it.
It's insane, dude. Where he's like, he kept making me do it. And I was like, holy shit, man. Like, for me, like, again, gluttony leaves that. Greed, it was what it was. Pride was one that on a rewatch, like the first time I saw it, I was like, all right, whatever. But she literally let herself die because of pride. Like, she didn't want to call out for help. For me, that's like, again, impactful. And then the last two, Wrath and Envy. So every single death, I feel like, are up there in this film, or sin, if you will. The only one that I was like, man, about, honestly, was probably Greed. Other than that, like, the other six, you're like, holy shit, man. Like, it's the real deal.
It was there. I think, I mean, it was, again, it was just there. I mean, compared to everything else, you know, like, you know, cutting off pounds of flesh, you know, no bone, no cartilage, just pounds of flesh. Like, I was thinking about that too. Like, when
and you can't even count that out. That's fucking terrible too.
That's a crazy thing. Like, I mean, I was thinking about it, and I was like, what would I cut off? Like, if you can't cut off bone, you can't cut off cartilage. Like, what do you cut off? And like, he's like, love handles, and I was like, you know what? That's probably where I'd go to try to get a pound. Like, but I mean, I just and everything, like, that's what I like.
I was like, yo, disgusting.
Because like, I mean, if you watch like Saw will walk you through like the torture things that they're doing, but this movie just lets you think of what it was like. They show you the aftermath, and then they're like, now imagine it yourself. And and I feel like that's what makes it so much worse. Because I mean, when your imagination runs wild, it's just, you can imagine literally everything, and you know, it's just that's insane.
It's funny you mentioned that, because when I rewatched this recently, I thought about Saw, because Saw 6 starts off that way. I don't know if you guys are very familiar with Saw films or anything. I'm a big horror guy, so I do like watching these films. But Saw 6 starts off where it's two people in a cage, and there is a balance or a weight or whatever, and they have to literally chop off flesh to make one weight more than the other. And as soon as one dings, you're free to go. If it doesn't, then you die. And you have, I forgot, they had some sort of mechanism strapped onto them or whatever. And I remember it was like a really, really skinny girl versus a really fat dude. And the beginning of Saw 6, that guy's literally going through his love handle, and it's like gross, you know, what he's going through. And just imagine, like, seeing that was gross enough, so I can only imagine what, you know, again, Greed had to go to. Because at the end of Saw 6, the chick ends up getting a meat cleaver and chopping off her arm with bone, and drops her arm last minute. She gets free, and the guy ends up dying. That's how the beginning of Saw 6 starts. But I not completely forgot, but right now when you said, look, no, he had to cut off his fat, I'm like, fuck, that's kind of fucked up too. Yeah. Like, there is no easy death in this film.
There's not,
you know,
not a single one that you're like, I could do this. Like,
Kevin Spacey gets the easiest death. He gets the easiest. Kevin Spacey. He gets the
yeah. Absolutely. Wrath is the easiest death. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you just disturbed me like crazy. Like, stop talking about these Saw movies, man. Just sitting here right now. Let's move on to the Gary Oldman Everyone Award for Best Overacting. Mine was easy. I went with Brad Pitt at the end saying, "What's in the box?"
Okay.
It's absolutely overacting. What's in the box? It's so funny when he says this at the end, because it's so quotable that you do kind of go over the top as you over as you say it. Like, I wonder how many takes he had of What's in the Box. David Fincher is famous for his excessive takes. Like the opening scene of The Social Network was 99 takes, which that's an all-day thing. Yeah, he likes to put his actors through so many takes that they forget that they're doing acting, that they're just in the character. So I wonder which take this was for Brad Pitt. Like if he's just pissed off and he's like, why are we doing this 57 times? What's in the box? He just throws it out there. So that's my pick for best overacting. Jader, I'm going to throw it to you, man. What's your pick for this?
You stole it right from me, man.
Is that too? Okay. I thought it was going to be
again, we always say, and we have to say it again, it's, we compliment you, and it's a little bit of a, how do we say
80% compliment, 20% insult.
So again, we know damn well that Brad Pitt is not an overactor. We know damn well that Brad Pitt is one of the greatest actors working in the industry right now, but it was a little over the top, but I also feel him at the same time as you're going through that. Like you must feel that way. Yeah. So I get it. That was my pick though, because I was watching the movie. I'm like, man, the acting here is really top notch. And then there you go, Brad Pitt at the end of the movie. So
what do you got, Brandon?
I actually had to go Gwyneth Paltrow, man. And I mean, you guys are picking out the What's in the Box scene. Like for her, to me, it was like every single scene. It was just a little bit too much. I mean, even the scene where she's telling Morgan Freeman that she's pregnant, and she was like, he's like, I'm not the person to tell him. It was so just. I don't want to say lack of like character, empathy, anything like that. But every single scene that she's in, I'm just like, get past it. She's only in the movie for a filler. She's only in the movie to fill a specific part, which is to be a head in a box. So they try to make you fall in love with her the whole movie because she's just the one bright character in the entire movie.
Yep.
There is nobody else in the movie that's, there's nothing good about anything in the movie except for her character. She's always happy, bubbly, sparkly. And then, so again, she served her purpose in the movie to be a head in the box. So I think literally everything in the movie was just to make her seem to be the lawful good in the movie. And it didn't cut it for me. So, and again, to me, she's Pepper Potts. She's Pepper Potts. She's, the woman in Shallow Hal. It was just that movie. Don't get me started on that one, but I mean, yeah, just like literally, just go ahead and rewatch the scene with her telling Morgan Freeman that she's pregnant in that pizza place, whatever. It was just, I'm like,
it's too much.
It's just too much. Like, I'm like, you get it, you're pregnant. Tell him, like.
A lot before we move on to the next category. A line that is kind of overlooked by us was Morgan Freeman saying John Doe has the upper hand. I thought that was just a great moment. Yeah. And that leads me to my next thing, which is what doesn't work. It's more of a question for you guys. Are Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman good detectives? Because they didn't solve this case. They didn't stop it from happening. It happened the way exactly the killer wanted. Are they good detectives?
I want to. They were close, man. Like they were figuring shit out. They were on. No, were they not?
They were always a step behind, though.
They were behind. I want to say they were good detectives, but John Doe was a better serial killer. That's all there is to it. I mean, like, Brad Pitt in the beginning of the film just talks about all of his accolades. Morgan Freeman is he is a seasoned detective. Everybody seems to know him. So I think they were good detectives. I just think John Doe was that much better. Like when he came off to me as an absolute genius, like as bad as that to say about, someone who is just as sadistic as he is, like he was a genius. You know what I mean? You really can't, hold a candle to that kind of, intellect that he had. I mean, the plan that he had, like, again, like you said, he had a certain plan and he had to deviate from the plan just because he got envious of that. And the fact that he was able to deviate so well from it, I just think, I mean, they were good detectives. He was just better.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple interesting details. The New Line executives hated this ending for this film, but Brad Pitt insisted on it.
And Morgan Freeman insisted that they would walk if they didn't keep the original ending. I have that on my notes.
Thank God they did.
Could you imagine? It'd be such a different film. That's why you never really listen to studios. They're there to kind of straighten you out when you are doing crazy stuff. Like Scorsese needed executives for The Irishman. That movie was way too long. But in this film, it's like, okay, just let the filmmaker do what he wants to do. What else we have here? We have back to the weather thing. David Fincher insisted on it constantly raining, 1, to create dread, and 2, to never have to worry about bad weather when they're filming. So it's kind of smart too. Like, hey, if it's raining, guys, get out the cameras. This is what we're doing today.
Yeah.
It's smart filmmaking. David Fincher said he felt bad for the actor who had to sit all day in prosthetics. So he compensated him by making him, quote, well endowed.
Giving him a big old wank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to sit there for hours. I think they said it was like 14 hours worth of makeup. What he had to put on for that. So he gave him a big dick. That's Fincher for you. Finally, I love this quote. This is just David Fincher being such a boss. He told Brad Pitt and Kevin Spacey, quote, "This isn't the film you'll be remembered for, but it'll be the one you're most proud of." Like, David Fincher's like, I know I made a great film. You guys know we made great films. You're not going to be celebrated for it, but at the end of your career, you're going to look back and be like, this is one of my best things I've ever made. So good on them for that. I didn't write any trivia questions. I just didn't have time to do it. So I don't know if you guys were expecting that, but not today. Let's move on to Apex Mountain. One of our 2 big categories here, Apex Mountain. The point in someone's career where they're at the peak of their powers, where it never gets any better for them. They're just at the top. They can do whatever they want. It's the point in their career where they were at their best. I think there's 2 options here. Jader, I'm going to start with you. Who's your pick? Oh, he's yawning.
Fuck, sorry, dude. I'm tired, man. I hate this category right now. For this movie, I hate it.
I think there's 2 in here. I really do.
Because I want to give it to Fincher.
Don't.
Right? I know. Because I know how much you love Social Network. But you have to understand, this is my Fincher film. Between this and Fight Club. You get me? But I know that this is not his apex because this was the beginning of him skyrocketing. You get me? So for me, it's one of those.
It got better for him.
It got better for him. So I don't want to give it to him, but I feel like, damn, this was what literally started your fucking career, you know? But Morgan Freeman can definitely be in the talk as well for me. So besides The Dark Knight, which he wasn't as impacting in The Dark Knight, I want to say that this is probably Morgan Freeman's best film for me. So I wanted to give it a Fincher, but my pick was ultimately Morgan Freeman.
Brandon, who do you got?
I mean, I don't know. Real quick though, I mean, like Shawshank, like Morgan Freeman's best film, hands down. I mean, you can't pass that. So I mean, again, kind of the same thing you said though. It's really hard to pick. Like I would say Fincher too. This was one of the first films I knew him for. I'm not gonna lie, like everybody's gonna hate me for this. I did not like Fight Club. Okay, I had to watch it a couple times just to kind of get what was going on. It was a lot going on, and I was really young when I watched it. I don't think I really appreciated the movie until the last couple years when I rewatched it. So I honestly would probably give it to Fincher right there. The Benjamin Button again didn't really do it for me. I told you earlier today I haven't seen The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I'm probably gonna watch that this weekend.
That's my least favorite Fincher film.
Maybe I'll just skip it and I'll, read some cliff notes on it.
Even more than Alien 3? That's your least favorite Fincher film?
Well, we don't fucking count. Fucking Fincher doesn't count Alien 3. Like, he does. He hates that movie. So for me, he started directing with Se7en. That was his first film. I know you're not a big fan of the game. I love the game. I think the game is fantastic. So it's all subjective. Like I said, because he had Se7en the game. He had Fight Club. Panic Room for me was a little wonky as well. It wasn't until like 2000s fucking Fincher where he was like making that fucking name for himself, because he had Zodiac, he had Benjamin Button, Social Network, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo,
Gone Girl,
fucking Gone Girl, and he was doing Mindhunter, which I love that show, and no one talks about that show. and it's so great. And he's having something with Netflix now, right? Called Mank.
Mank, yeah, the trailer just came out. It's the story of Charles Mankiewicz, who wrote Citizen Kane, and it looks really cool. So I'm all in for Fincher. I think we need to talk about Kevin Spacey. 1995. Did it ever get better for Kevin Spacey or with The Usual Suspects and Se7en in the same year? I mean, it's when we talked about Spielberg when he had 93 with Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. And Jim Carrey with his 94 with The Mask and Dumb and Dumber and what was the other? Ace Ventura. I mean, Kevin Spacey had his two most iconic roles in the same year, unless you're counting House of Cards. I think that's what you're doing, Jader.
No, man. Have you seen LA Confidential? You haven't seen LA Confidential.
I thought you were going to say Horrible Bosses.
No. Oh, I love them in Horrible Bosses, dude. I love them in Horrible Bosses. But American Beauty was fucking great, man. You can't count him out of American Beauty. You can't count him out. Count him out at LA Confidential.
Role for Kevin Spacey was American Beauty.
Yeah, dude.
That one was phenomenal.
I think this is his apex, though. Like, this was the year that he never topped this year. This was it for
Superman Returns. I mean,
oh man, if Superman Returns, of course. And you got Horrible Bosses too. Like, he's back in.
No, honestly, for me, 90s Kevin Spacey, we had mentioned everything that he did prior, but like from 95 to 99, let me see if he had anything right beforehand. Like
Bug's Life. Well, that was after.
Again, that was 99.
Yeah.
So you have, look, I found it. Usual Suspects, Outbreak, Se7en, Time to Kill, LA Confidential, Midnight Regarding Good and Evil, The Negotiator, Bug's Life, and American Beauty. That was all from 95 to 99, right?
Yeah.
Then
years there.
Then after that, let's skip. He had Life of David Gale. If you haven't seen that movie's fantastic.
Pay It Forward.
He had Pay It Forward right before that. What else? Obviously, Superman Returns. 21. You know, he starts getting a little wonky in late 2000.
21. I forgot about 21.
Yeah,
21's awesome. I fucking love that movie. What else? And then obviously he hit his thing with House of Cards. Even though I loved him in Baby Driver too, he was awesome in Baby Driver.
That's right, Baby Driver. Okay,
he was in Baby Driver, man. So can't say Spacey, man. And you're right. You know what? I don't know why. Every single time I think Morgan Freeman, I never think Shawshank, and that is definitely his best film. And I don't know why. And I think it's only because I've seen Shawshank like 2 or 3 times. I haven't seen it as much as I've seen all these films. So,
see, and that's why I agree with you with Morgan Freeman. I think 94, 95 Morgan Freeman is the best it ever got for him. With Shawshank and Se7en back to back, it never really got better after this. He's always a great actor, but until recently, he was doing all the old man movies. But he was. Yeah, like Going in Style. Like, come on, man.
Hey! I love Bucket List. Bucket List was awesome.
I mean, I think that was where it started going downhill after $1 Million Baby.
Yeah, you're probably right there. $1 Million Baby. I think Freeman and Spacey qualify. Maybe it's nobody. It's definitely not Brad Pitt.
No.
It's David Fincher. I know Jader made the argument. So did you, Brandon? I don't think it's Fincher's because it did get better for Fincher after this. So it doesn't really qualify for the term. But that leads us into our final category. Who won the movie? Brandon, you're
David fucking Fincher. I'm interrupting right now. David fucking Fincher won.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the answer here. Brandon, do you agree?
It is. I mean, him and Brad Pitt for me.
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't see Brad Pitt in a whole lot of things before this, to be honest. I mean, for me personally, growing up, I knew Brad Pitt from Friends.
What?
I did. Like
where you found out about Brad Pitt?
Honestly, it is, man. I didn't get into movies until a little bit later in life. I knew Brad Pitt from Friends, and watching Se7en, I was like, oh, it's the guy from Friends. I'm pretty sure Rachel's. Like he was Rachel's friend. Hated her. Green fan club, you know. So I think who was still in the movie was David Fincher and Brad Pitt. You know, just watching Brad Pitt become, start off as, just an arrogant detective that was trying to make a name for himself. the growth throughout the movie, and then of course the pinnacle of the movie, which is the what's in the box. It was an entire roller coaster from his character change from the beginning to the end. A completely different person to where, he was a good cop that ended up doing a terrible thing to, satisfy a serial killer's, wishes. So that was great. And then David Fincher, kind of like Jader said, David Fincher he made a great movie. All the artistic licenses he took with the movie, he did a great movie. And again, talking to you earlier today, Kyle, like not realizing how many other films that he made that I liked, just gave me a whole lot of newfound respect for the man. So it's going to be those two for me.
Yeah, I think this is easily Fincher. He drops his dick on the table when he walks into a room now, and he's just like, I want what you guys are going to give me whatever I want, and I'm going to go out and make a badass movie. He's the only person I trust with making a serial killer movie. We have this in Zodiac and then Mindhunter. Like, he clearly is really invested in these serial killers, and he makes us invested in them too. Like, when we should hate these characters, and we do, he hates them also. And he puts us on a journey of dread every single time. And then when you look at something like The Social Network, Mark Zuckerberg, he doesn't celebrate him. He degrades him the entire time, showing how much of an asshole he is. So I think this was Fincher's announcement to the world that I'm a director that is here to stay, and you guys are going to pay attention to me. And boy, have we. And it's kind of annoying that the Oscars recognized him the most for Benjamin Button, because that's not really who he is as a director. That movie has a lot of heart and warmth to it, as opposed to every single other film he's ever made. There's no warmth in any of his other films. So this is Fincher. I think he easily wins this movie. Jader, you said the same thing, right, Fincher?
Fincher, hands down. I'm baffled at the fact that you met Brad Pitt through Friends. I can't believe that's the first time you ever saw Brad Pitt. I'm honestly like, dude, you never saw Cold World as a kid?
Nope.
Fuck. The Interview with the Vampire?
Never saw it. I heard he kissed Kristen Dunst, and that was a little rapey.
Yeah, it's a little fucking weird. Yeah, it's not the weirdest thing in the movie. But fuck, Legends of the Fall?
Nope.
Sleepers?
It was Meet Joe Black.
Meet Joe Black was in '98, yeah. Meet Joe Black, Fight Club, Snatch, The Mexican. Fuck, there were so many movies, man.
Like, I just did not, I did not start actually getting into watching actual movies until I was a little bit older, man. When I was younger, it was just stupid comedies that I could watch, just joke around with my friends. I didn't get until later in life where I actually started watching movies and seeing actually how good things were. So
kudos that you like Friends, by the way. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I could quote that shit left and right. But fuck.
But yeah.
When you saw Toy Story, did you think it was a movie about your toys?
I thought it was.
Guys, final thoughts on Se7en. Brandon, what do you have left to say about this film?
We covered so much on it. Again, though, I feel like it's one of those movies that there's definitely movies where I could sit there and rewatch the movie over and over again, like Green Street Hooligans. I could rewatch it over and over again, find something new every time. I think Se7en's one of those movies where you have to take a little break in between because it is so sadistic and dark. But when you take that good enough break in between, it becomes a whole new movie. Knowing the ending, but not honestly remembering how they get there. It's phenomenal. It's a roller coaster ride throughout the entire thing. It's dark, but not so dark that I don't want to watch it. It's dark to the point where, it's just super interesting. It starts out, I thought it was going to be kind of like a buddy cop movie, and it still is. It still is a little bit of a buddy cop movie with knife dildos.
Dude, let me tell you, man. Again, I wrote notes for this fucking movie, man. How much I fucking love this shit, right? So it kind of going back to what he's saying. It's again, I said it at the beginning of this podcast. I honestly think it's one of the greatest films ever made. Going back to what he was saying, where it's not one of these rewatchable as often as you would like films. It doesn't make me feel as bad as Requiem for a Dream or Kids. or kids or things like that, where I need to shower after I see the movie. Because Requiem, 10 out of 10 times I'm gonna shower right after the movie just to like clean that shit right off me. Because I know eventually we're gonna talk about that film, and I'm gonna say that over and over again because I've seen Requiem, I think maybe twice, and I think it's 2 times too many already. Like it's one of those few films where I know I had to watch it, and I saw it, and even knowing what I was getting into, I was like, this is a fucked up movie. Se7en ultimately doesn't make me feel as bad as those films do. It's still, again, a messed up movie. It's a depressing film. Again, I told you that I showed the bubbliest person in this planet that movie, and she was kind of like, like completely down after the movie finished. And then I was like, all right, let's watch this new movie called Uncut Gems. And
Talk about
what a night, right?
Yeah.
But I it was my first time watching Uncut Gems, so I don't take fault for that. But I think it's such a complete film, and I feel like it's literally what launched David Fincher's career. Again, he himself has publicly stated that he does not consider Alien 3 his film because of everything production has done. I don't know if that's a cop-out, to be completely honest with you, as this is my one truly bad film. Let me blame the studio. Because he doesn't even take titles. Wait, hold on. Why?
You like that movie. Shut up.
I don't like what?
Alien 3.
I don't like Alien 3.
Yes, you do.
No, I
You
don't.
like it all the time.
Oh my god.
Alien 3 discussion.
There you go. But again, it's this motherfucker threw me off.
Hey, it's good. It's good. I mean, Fincher is.
I love the fucking movie, and that's all it is.
I mean, Seven's just it's at this point, it's one of the best films that Fincher's ever made, even though he's made some terrific films, and it really put him on the map. It made us appreciate him, and you go back to watch it, still holds up today. I love the way he shoots these films. There's that eerie dread to it every single time, and it's hard to go back and watch, but you really enjoy it once you do. And guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Jader and Kyle Show. Thank you, everyone who tuned in, who watched along. Brandon, thanks for coming on the show, man. It was a pleasure having you. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, I had a blast. I can't thank you enough for inviting me. This was been, it's been an experience for one. It was a blast, guys. It was nice to meet you, Jader. Anytime you come back, I will 100% be back.
Yes. You're going to come back for The Crow.
I'll even
tell you right now.
Story time with Brandon, all right?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
There you go.
Coming soon, guys, to a podcast.
Yeah, this is the type of roommates I have. This is awesome.
Brandon, this is your moment, man. Plug your social media. Get some new followers.
Oh, my God. I mean,
He wasn't even expecting this.
Much. I got an Instagram. I got a little bit of Facebook. My Instagram is BSTOR00.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I created it back in the day. Hit me up on there. That's about it. Like, man, I don't have a whole lot of social media. Facebook, picture of me and my mom. So hit me up if you got me. Instagram's probably the best way to hit up me. Or Snapchat is it was Epic 87, which I'm not.
That's still a thing.
It is.
Okay.
That's honestly, if anyone wants to steal my stuff, Right was Epic 87 is my password to like 90% of the thing. That's also the name of my Snapchat. So hit me up, steal my social security card, whatever. It doesn't matter. I got
great dismount right there, Brandon. Jader, any final things you want to say?
I love this fucking movie. Crow review coming soon. You guys can find me on Instagram, InfamousJ13, Facebook, Jader. No, I'm just kidding. And my Schmodown match with for the teams tournament should be, I think, airing by next week or in 2 weeks. So look out for that. Yep.
And guys, also tune in to the Pop Culture Pros. Look up the website. Tune in with us. It's going to be a great site. Everything that you saw from CST is going to be here at PCP, only better. It's going to be bigger and better. We're going to be doing a lot over here, guys.
PCP, baby.
Peace be peace. Tune in, come along with us. It's going to be a wild ride. Thank you, everyone, for watching us again, and we'll see you next time another episode of the Jader and Kyle Show.